No, no. Okay, hello, and welcome. I have a guest here in the podcast, Saša.
Hello,
Welcome.
thank you.
Saša is a client of mine and a rapper, artist, performer, and her expertise is really the freestyle and improvisation field scene, and that is going to be our topic today. We're going to be talking all the things freestyle, improvisation. We're going to improvise the conversation too, so we will see what happens. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Yay, exciting. So maybe share a little bit about yourself to the people that don't know you yet. um a little introduction in a nutshell. This is me.
So, okay, this is me. Hello, everyone. My name is Saša, and I'm, like Rosa said, I am a performer and a rapper and an artist, and my thing is to improvise. So basically, how I perform is that I go on the stage and I ask for words from people, and they give me words, and then I create the songs there in the moment from the words they have given me. I sing and I rap. um, I have been performing like for 15 years for my whole life, and I have been like better singing and rapping for, I'd say, 4 years now. There was a small um, pause in between since I started, but anyway, like 4 years of rapping now. I have published 2 songs for now, and I am also the I also won the bronze prize in last year in the Finnish Rap Championship contest.
Yay.
It's like
Yay.
improvised rap battle. So
Yeah.
that's who I am. I love the sea, and I'm also a nice person, at least some.
Well, obviously, if you're here. Um, yeah, I forgot to. I could have said that in the beginning, but like, yeah, Sasa, you are a you're. I think like it's like being a champion. Like if you're third, that's because you are. I mean, there's another. How do you say it when you're like um you get. I'm struggling with English today. Well, anyway, let's say
No.
um mm,
Pro.
pro conversation. I'm like I have a little bit of a flu. I'm feeling a little bit like stiff in my head at the moment, but that's great if we're talking about freestyle. Actually, the thing that I wanted to ask you is that when did you start improvising songs on stage? So you said that you ask words from the audience. Like, where did that come from? Like, how did that begin?
So how did I start that? It was 2014 when I got into this improvisational theater group. So and after that we started performing like improvised acting. So whenever we went to have gigs, we performed. We had always like improvised scenes from the words the audience gives us, and then we made songs on the stage. So basically I learned improvising in front of the stage, because when I started improvising, I didn't like, I have no, I don't have the background of like, I rapped 10 years in at my home first, or I sang in my closet for 5 years before. I have been um doing it on the stage from the very beginning. And since, but like before that, I have been doing just basic theater, so it's like performing has always been like the thing for me. Anyway, in the improvisational theater group, somehow when I started it, and somehow during that, when I have been doing the improvisation, is that I have always loved music the most, like improvisational music. Something just clicked. So I was like the crazy one. Whenever we went to the gig, I was to my group like, please, can we do improvisational songs today? Can we do songs and can we do raps? So it's like it was the desire that I had straight from the beginning, even though I didn't realize I have it. And whenever we had just a regular practice, I always wanted to do some music. So it's something that really uh, has been interesting me since the very beginning. And well, then when I have been doing and doing it for years and years, it started to feel easy for me in the theater group. So then I wanted to, it was 2019, and I wanted to, like, you know, do it bigger, like challenge myself. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to find people that are better doing it, like people who I can learn from, and so on. So that's how I started, like, to doing the research of, putting, how do you say in English, like verkot vesille, laajentaa.
Expanding,
Yeah,
maybe?
expanding. Yeah, so I started to look for spaces and opportunities to do it more.
Mm. Mm. Uh, what was it like in the beginning? Like if you think about the first gigs that you had doing
Uh,
improvisational singing on the stage.
you mean like back in the 2014?
Yeah.
It has been very nice. I mean, thinking of that, it was just playing, because the basic thing in improvisational theater is that when you screw up, it's a gift. So something really, if you like, you cannot forget anything, because that's like, basically you have rules in improvisation, but you can like, you cannot forget your lyrics because it's improvisation. And when we did the songs, it was just fun. Like when we got a subject from the audience, it was just like you started to improvise about that, and then I was like, hey, I can really do this, I can really create this. So it was fun, and we had a group there, so basically we did it together with the group by back then. So it was a bit different for me than it is now. But then we had some courses and some teachers coming from outside to teach us, like, you can have some, some like techniques to learn to do the improvisational songs. So it was very fun. It was, and it was only fun. And even though it was like shit sometimes, like there was no sense, it was still fun, because it was the whole thing. It was the whole thing, and there were no judgment. And even though for the audience, they knew that it's just improvisation, so it's like they're not expecting it for it to be like a perfect song in the first place, but it's just like, it's fun. And I never felt that I am bad at it back in the beginning.
Mm. Mm. I just heard my door opened. Uh, my boyfriend came home. That's all right. You said about like screwing up is a gift. And this is like a big one, like in the improvisation world. Uh, do you want to share a little bit more about that? Like, what does it mean to you, or what does it mean to you, like in improvisation and freestyle rap? Like, how would you
Um,
explain it?
Well, if we talk about the world of improvisation, screwing up, there is a just like a basic rule that screwing up is a gift, um, because, well, from my point of view, it is something that you cannot control. It just happens. It happens by accident, so it's the most like pure improvisation in that moment. And very often it includes a little bit or even a little more shame in it, like, oh my god, I did something stupid and what did come out from this. And then there is the beauty of being like a really like a human being there. Like the thing is not that you should be like a perfect a performer or anything. It's just like when you screw up, it's a gift. You're not bad of doing it, and then your friends who are you acting with, they come there, and then we continue the scene. And even though the audience realizes you screw up something, they are laughing at it, and it's like the moment is fun for everyone because it's something that happened so um like but just by accident.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel almost like, well, the ideas that we have about like what is a mistake, like that is always like it comes from like some kind of perception. And I think that in a way, like mistakes and like screwing up, it is almost necessary to kind of like almost like break something, like in the most positive way, you know, like break something like inside us so that like we can actually kind of like open up
Yeah.
in our expression. I don't know if you feel like if you have experienced it in that way, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. And it's the thing that even though even though it's improvisation, sometimes you might have the idea before you start your song or your action in improvisation. You might feel like, I'm gonna do this kind of song or I'm gonna do that one. And yes, when you have like more kilometers back, then and when you become more um like more experienced in that, you can also do that the planning ahead, and it's necessary. But in the very beginning, the thing is that if you start to you I mean, the thing is, when you have a group, you cannot plan, because when you go with your idea to the stage, somebody else might start the scene and he or she is having another idea, so you need to like throw your idea away, and then you need to go with the other one. Whoever talks first, it's his or her idea we're going with. And it's like you need to be very open and willing to let go straight away. And even though the rule is called like screwing up is a gift, I think that it's not a screw up, it's not a mistake. Well, I could say like mistake is a gift, like a better sentence for that. But
Mm.
I don't I don't consider them as mistakes. I consider them like, it's like, hey, don't plan ahead, and then something happens and boom, it's like a stop, and now this is true. Now it's like the mistake, but I think that it's the moment when something that is really true and authentic happens, and then you need to see like, okay, where I'm going now with the song or with
Yeah.
the scene.
Yeah, it's like you really have to live in the moment.
Yeah. And listen to yourself, and if you're doing it with somebody, you need to listen to others also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think in many ways it's like everything is an opportunity, like for
Yeah.
something, like whatever happens like on the stage, like everything is an opportunity that you can
Yeah.
respond to.
Yeah, and if something like that's the thing when it's improvisation, sometimes you have the moments on stage like, oh my God, what I'm gonna say, what will I say next? What will I rap next? What will I sing next? But when you just let go, it just comes through you. If you try to control it, it most definitely won't come, or it can, but it's a bit more squeezed in a way.
Yeah. Have you ever had like those moments on stage or like like going to the stage where you feel like, oh my God, like I don't know what to do or I feel lost?
Always. Every
Yeah.
time when I go to the stage, it's the same. I had my last gig like maybe a week or a couple ago, and I did some freestyle rap there also. And every time, even though I have been improvising for 10 years now, I I think that why do I put myself into this every time? Like, why do I need to go through this every time? Like, why can't I just do songs that are already written? But in the same hand, it's like that's the thing, it's my passion. It's 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 just something. How can you create so cool things? How can people invent so cool things just in the moment? But yes, of course, it's always like um, exciting to go there and do that without any plan.
Yeah. How do you deal with it sounds so bad. Like, what is it for you that happens in that moment? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you approach that? Like, not knowing what is going to happen or feeling like you don't know what you're doing.
Well, most of all, it's all about trust. Trusting the
Yeah.
moment, trusting yourself, trusting that you got it, no matter what happens. Um, and then it's, well, basically the hardest part is the moment before you go on stage. Like,
Yeah.
it can be 5 minutes before, it can be an hour before, it can be one day before or a week before, when you like, you start to stress about it, and what will I do, so it's like, for me, it's preparing for the moment. It can be from 5 minutes to 5 days or whatever, but and well, that's something that I've been working with you, getting into my body, like um, working with those voices in my head that are telling me that I'm not enough and that are taking over. Um, be learning to just like trust in the moment, and well, of course, the more you do it, the more confident you become, and you know that you got yourself. You know that it's like built in your system in a way that whenever you go on stage, you know that even though 1 minute before you're performing, you're feeling like, my head is empty, I don't know what will I say, where will I create those moments from, I have no clue, oh my god, what I'm gonna do. You just know that when I'm there on the stage, it will just happen, when I'm just willing to let go and surrender
Yeah.
and have fun. That's like, not to think
Yeah.
seriously, because um that's like when we're too nervous, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, how can you create something from us
Mm.
feeling of that. But even though I have had different kinds of feelings before going on the stage or even on the stage, I usually, well, this is something that I haven't revealed earlier, but this is,
Yeah.
I usually, make the feeling my own. So I create the song about the feeling, and I express from the feeling I'm having right there. And then usually something happens, something clicks, and the feeling changes. And so I'm not trying to squeeze myself into anything that I am not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really important that you're kind of like honest about like what's going on like inside of you, and the less that you actually try to fight it, the easier it gets. Because I think that's something that happens often, like when people get nervous, like, or when we get nervous, like going on the stage, or um stepping into the spotlight, is that we're almost like afraid of the fear. We're
Yeah.
afraid of like being nervous, and like when we feel that actually happening in our body, we're like, oh my god, I'm nervous, like everything is going to be ruined, I have no control.
Yeah.
But it's like the less you fight it, the easier it is to get through it. um what would you say, what's your take on performance anxiety and nervousness? What would you say to like someone who has like a lot of like who feels a lot of nervousness, like going to the stage and kind of like letting go of control, like in this is like, oh, I have to improvise something. and it feels scary.
Do you mean like, what would I say for encouragement, or what kind of tips would I give?
Both.
Okay, so basically tips for the thing that if you're going on a stage improvising, you're gonna improvise and you're feeling nervous.
Yeah.
Well, most of all, remember that you're doing improvisation, so it's like you are going on a stage to like just create something out of nothing. You don't have like words that you have written and learned and practiced. You're going there just by yourself and you have nothing. So be gentle for yourself. It's fucking cool to go on a stage with a gift like that. Also, don't be gentle to yourself, because like, well, it's easier said than actually done, but the more you squeeze or criticize yourself, the more you're just probably going to lock yourself. So the more open you can be, it's the better. Now, don't take it too seriously. Like, you can just go there and play, and it's it's your moment. So you decide how it's gonna go. What kind of performance are you going to do? If you don't do no if you don't know what you're going to do, people don't know either, so you can create any kind of song. And to remember that if you're creating an improvised song, well, most probably you do need a word or a few from the audience. So it's up to you. How many words do you create? I mean, you can create a song using one word and just like singing the one word and like playing music there. So, or you can create a story. But these are like few that had helped me. Most of all, just to remember to have fun there, to allow yourself to have fun. And try to be brave enough to ask many words and pick a word that makes you feel something. Like there is some kind of like click or niche, like, oh, that's the word, Or if you really want to like have more from the audience, like let's say better words, or like sometimes when you ask people for words, they can just say like, a bus, or a carrot, or and if you in the moment, if you don't feel anything about the bus or about the carrot, ask the audience that, can you tell me something about a bus? And most like, why did you say the word bus? And then the person says like, okay, I was driving a bus this morning. So that's something, whatever comes to you, you can pick up them into your song in that moment. So be brave enough to ask more words, pick a word that really clicks you somehow. You will know the feeling. Like some words are like, boring, 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 but then there is the one that like makes you feel something. So I recommend picking that up, because then you have your own like vision of the word already. It's a long answer. There are a lot of things like what can you really do before, but and then if you really like want to all of this depends also on the like what kind of gig are you having and where you are performing and so on, and how many songs. But remember to do it in your own way, in your own unique way. And I also recommend, even though if it's improvisation, it can help you, especially in the beginning, to like decide, okay, I'm playing one or I'm playing 5 improvised songs. And in this first song, I'm asking people for 1 word, and or in that song, I'm asking for 5 words. So sometimes some kind of a structure might help you and make you feel more confident. Like in a way that I know what I'm doing, and I do have like a plan if something.
Yeah.
if something happens that you like freeze on the stage during the song, you can also like just like stay on that word and try to repeat that word. For example, you don't need to be afraid of freezing up. You can just change the subject in the song or change to another word. The most important thing is to like continue your story, even though you don't rhyme, even though there are things that you might like fall out of the song. You just, okay, a small mistake, and you don't think about it, you go forward. So that's the thing, like the most important thing that is you keep going, and you just let the voice come out from you. No matter what, you let the song come out. It's, you don't have to rhyme, you don't have to sing perfectly, you don't have to, if you rap, you don't have to rap perfectly. The most important thing is that you keep going.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. It's like you, like whatever happens, like you keep kind of like going forward. And I I feel like that can be one of the things that can really create this feeling of breakthrough, because like what often happens like with our voice and expression is that we kind of like freeze.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't have any ideas, or like, I'm totally blacking out. But that, like, you can always like do something, like whatever it is, like just like, like, you know, letting out anything. And, you know, like, I feel like that can be in improvisation, like one of those um things, if you kind of like allow yourself to do something, like even if it feels really stupid and even if it feels like it doesn't make any sense, like if you just follow it, like at some point like something will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and the important thing is to also remember that it's that it's simpleness. The beauty is
Yeah.
most often in the simpleness. I remember having a gig with my group like way back, maybe in 2015, and we had a song. I don't even remember what kind of songs we did create, but then I remember that my spot was to create the chorus for the song in the moment. And I was like, I was listening to the verse that is coming, one actor sings, another actress sings, and I was like, oh my god, the chorus is coming. Okay, I want to create something simple, something that is easy to remember. That's what we want from choruses. So I was just like, I started singing voi vitalis, which is like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, or like, oh fuck, oh fuck. So you cannot translate that word into English, but the chorus was just like voi vitalis, and then we sang it when the chorus came, every time the same words, the same melody, and it became the last song of our gig, and the result was that the audience was singing it with us. So they, even though I was thinking in the moment that, oh my god, this is so stupid, there is no sense in this chorus, like I had that feeling in my head, or I had the thought in my head, but the thing that it was easy to remember, and we could all join the song. And even after the gig, the audience came like, oh my god, I love the song, you should record it or whatever. So it doesn't have to make sense. The funnier thing is that people will remember something from it. It can even be just a melody you're singing. You can just repeat one word. You can create a story. It's like you choose what you create.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, the funny thing is that our mind can be such a bad judge.
Yep.
Like, you know, if we like think about our expression, like our mind can have like all these like stories and ideas and beliefs, and can kind of like twist the thing, like so that it almost like feels like anything you say, anything you do, anything you sing is a bad idea, or like everything is crap. But like oftentimes our mind is the biggest obstacle, almost like, that we have. And the way that the mind just like, you know, makes everything seem worse than it actually is. And I think that's something that improvisation can really teach us, that oftentimes the things that we think are bad, or the things that we think that don't work, can actually be some of the most genius things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing, I have two things for that. Like,
Yeah.
well, one thing I have learned, even in that rap battle contest in Finland, is like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
So even though you're rapping about a straw, or even though you're rapping about a nose, I don't care, but it's not the thing, it's not the thing what you say about it, it's like how you say about it. When you believe in it, others will believe in it. And I have been rapping, I have been singing on stage so fucking stupid lines that it doesn't make any sense, but it's the thing that when I decide that I'm believing in that, this I'm believing in this, and I mean what I say, this means something from me, I want to express with this, it's like the audience buys it. So
Yeah.
it's you don't have to be the most. And what I have learned also being a part of the rap scene, you can be the most talented rapper ever. You can have the rhymes, you can have the double rhymes, you can have the multi rhymes, you can be technically very good, but if you just like spit without meaning what you say, I mean, yeah, it sounds nice, but for in my opinion, if you really have your expression there, it's so much more, because the technique is something, the words, the rhymes is something you can always learn by technique, but what matters the most is that you express in your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, the mind can really go very tricky, and I'm still struggling with my mind. So, and I sometimes I have been feeling that the more I do this,
Mm.
like the harder my mind gets with it, because I've had all like this expectations, like now that I have this experience, I need to be this good, and I cannot use that word nor that word, or I should be this good, I should be a pro, I should do that and do that and do that. And that's something common that artists can uh, like develop for themselves, to have the pressure, like now I'm in this spot, I should do something, and then you're actually just like squeezing yourself, and it's not the way you should improvise. um and for that, I'd say that you don't have to be anything. Where do those expectations come? Like, you can improvise for 20 years and still sing about a carrot with one word on the stage if you want to. You don't have the pressure of creating anything. You lead, it's your song, it's your improvisation, and nobody can tell you how to do it unless you ask for help. Then, but of course, but that's like something we should also remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I have something in mind related to that. And it went somewhere. Maybe it'll come back. Well, I actually wanted to say about the expression part, kind of like the energy, behind the things that we say. I like sometimes it's like you can almost like you can get your expression across, like whatever you basically say, like whatever the words are. It's like the energy, it matters so much. And um I don't know if you know the song Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone.
I know.
And there's this recording where the singer like repeats, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. And it's like it is such an expressive part of the song. And I think something that can easily happen with improvisation is that we kind of like get into this loop of like, I have to like come up with something that is like, so genius, like so, intellectual, and like the best joke ever or the best rhyme ever. But like in the end, like you can say something with so little. And like if it's only intellectual, it can like almost like miss like some of the like actual like energy behind it. And I feel like that like it is such a funny thing because like expression and technique, like in my opinion, they are like such a married couple. Like in a way, like if you follow your expression, like you are embodying your own technique. Like because like in the moment when you follow your expression, it's like it makes certain things happen in your body. You're not even thinking about it. It's like your body is doing it. It's like every guitarist, like I know a lot of like guitarists and they're like they're always like every guitarist has their own like unique style and their own unique technique of like how they play the guitar and what kind of is it called, what is it called in English? Plectra, the pick. Oh yeah, it's pick. So what kind of picks do they like to use? And how they use their fingers. Like it is kind of like in the way that you express, and then like what you want to express and your energy, it kind of like informs everyone's technique. And I think this is kind of like what people almost like get wrong, is that we kind of like think that technique is something like somebody has the right technique and now I have to like absorb it. But it's like no, it's like, yeah, there are like some basic foundational things of like this is like how you can get more out of your voice and blah blah blah. But then like your technique is something that it's like, how does your expression sit in your body?
Yeah.
Like when you actually say what you want to say, or when you actually express the thing that you have inside of you, like you said in the beginning about like feeling like if you feel nervous when you go on the stage, and kind of like use that emotion and express from that, like that is technique, like in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah, and it maybe it's also because we haven't been taught that that can be a technique. We have been taught that technique is rhyming, it's flow, it's writing, but nobody taught that actually it can be expression. It's your technique to do it. And that's something also when people ask me how do I improvise and can you teach me that, I'm like, I can teach you some stuff, but most basically I hope that people find their way of improvisation, because I also, especially when it comes to rap battling, freestyle rap battling, I have a very unique way of doing it. I'm not the kind of a rapper that many rappers are, and like that's the way I do it. And that's when I drop into my body and into my energy on the stage, I realize that, okay, this is how it goes. This is how I express. This came out of my mouth and this came out of my mouth. And I'm actually having fun there whenever I perform. But when I go into this, like, oh, I heard this rapper doing this kind of technique, and then I go into stage and I go into my head and then go like squeezing, like, now I should rhyme, now I should rap, I should use that technique, and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, and in that moment I'm using that technique that is not actually mine, and then I'm getting, I'm getting messed up, and then I'm starting to beat myself up in that moment because I cannot do it, and then I start to feel shame, then I start to feel bad about myself. So that's where the role goes. But why do I go in that role? And when I should be in my role, I should be in my way of doing that. Of course, I can do my kind of things, and I can still get inspired of other rappers, of other singers, like, oh, I love her flow, or I love his or her rhymes. I can practice that. I can take inspiration of those and try to, like, I can practice and get inspiration from that. But I really think that we should not copy anybody. Instead, we should like just um find the thing we are, and like, what is kuoria, like
Peel.
heal everything from ourselves instead that is actually not us, and
Yeah.
find the deep inside us, because that's the thing. When you're there, you don't need anything. You just know that everything happens, and
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like I very much believe that we have like all that we need, like basically in our expression, like inside of us. It doesn't mean that we don't need mentors or teachers, or we don't need like, you know, tips and tricks like that we maybe learn from like other people. Like I don't like, it's not that nobody is an island, but like if we think about like really uncovering that unique thing, it's like everything is inside of us, like in the
Yeah.
end. And you know that what you said about like really like rapping and singing like from your embodiment, like this is obviously like exactly what I teach. So like I'm so glad that the way that you articulated that. Um but there
In
is
a good teacher in that.
yeah, exactly. And I think there is really like a difference if we are like trying to copy or emulate
Yeah.
someone else. It's almost like trying to wear somebody else's clothes, but it
Yeah.
doesn't really fit. It's like it feels like a little wonky. It's like maybe the shoulders are like too
Yeah.
big, or you know, like the length is not all right, but you're kind of like trying to vibe it because the other person like rocked
Yeah.
it like so well, and we're like, maybe it's her clothes, like maybe I have to wear her clothes, but it's like it's not
Or
that. It's like there's a difference, like really embodying your own channel.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
or you're wearing the other person's shoes that are actually, they look so nice and so cool, and you want them in your legs, but then you realize like, ew, this is not my shoes. These aren't, I cannot walk in them, I cannot stand in them. But then you
yeah,
can like plan your own shoes that actually fit your leg, that are your size and that are comfortable for you, but you can like have the same color or like have the same kind of logo when you create your shoes. So you can pick up things, but you should not try to be anything else that you actually are. And that is the most hardest part there also, because we have people don't teach that. We have not been taught that. So basically, talking about improvisation for me, it's being like a channel, like you have this pipe in yourself that you can just express from, but then sometimes or very often the pipe is just like full of different kind of shit that you need to
yeah,
clean before you can actually access your expression there.
yeah. Can you share a little bit about your experience of cleaning the pipes? Do you have any like examples or stories you want to share?
Well, when I started improvisation, I had no clue that I have any kind of I didn't know that I have a gift. I didn't know that I have an expression. I didn't know that I'm good at it. I didn't know that I have a pipe. I didn't know that I have a channel. I just did it because it's fun. So I think it starts from the desire, from the thing you just do that is just fun, that you want to do, or you can stop doing it and then it comes back to you. Uh, and back, even though you decide you're not continuing. um anyway, when I started to deepen this, like really learn what is it to improvise by rapping, um I started to learn more techniques, and somehow I knew that even though I wasn't the most skillful one in the beginning or even in the middle, it's is the thing that I always had the fire for that. I always had the desire for that, and I can see it from my every show I have had. Like the bigger shows, the competitions, and the small performances, I have noticed that I just I see it even in my own doing. Of course, um then in the road, like there has been the critics that, like we already talked, like the sounds that you cannot do it, you should be better in this, the rhyme is not good enough, the line is not good enough, you cannot create the songs. And then you're getting all, and of course what affects it if you're like just overwhelmed or stressed in life, all in general, you're hungry, you're thirsty, you haven't slept, that all affects that you're like, okay, your body is very tired now. So you, or you're just overwhelmed, you have your, I think that the pipe is life all in general, it's all those beliefs. And what do we put in the pipe, it makes the pipe, like if I put bad words there, if I put limiting beliefs there, if I put the inner critic there, it's gonna like, it's just gonna stand there, the shit is gonna stand there, even though there is like this water and the spring who just want to lift up and express. But the more shit there is, uh the harder it is to get the actual spring and water that is easy and flowing to get through it. So cleaning up the actual pipe, it has been, well, that's why I've been working with you basically, like for so long also. And there is, I think it might be even a never-ending road that you just find, you clean one thing and then you find another one, and then a part of it goes like, okay, now I'm good doing this, and then something comes up and you need to cleanse that also. So it's like, I don't know if you really can have, I don't know yet, maybe someday, but I don't know, can I have, is it even possible to have a pipe that is just like fully clean and fully flowing and fully, watery all the time? Because in a way, in a way, I think that this is all what comes from me now, but in a way, I think that also that those beliefs and everything like that shit I spoke about, it's meant to be there. You're just like meant to cleanse it first, and then it can just like drop on the ground, and then the pipe can suck it again, and it can just, use it like as nutrition to the thing that you really express yourself from.
Yeah.
You just need to like reorganize, or you need to do, like, you just need to learn to use it, like not use in a, stricting way of, or in a punishing way of using, but just to using it to help yourself expressing yourself, instead of like blocking yourself from the expression.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like almost like the blocks or constraints that we have, it's like the medicine is often in there. And um I'm like, I'm having like this image, I'm kind of like having this image this image um related to this. Okay. So, okay, like this is what I kind of feel like is coming like related to that, is that the blocks that we have, they're often parts that we have not actually like ever maybe expressed, or the things that we have not had, permission to express, or the parts that we think that like this is somehow not okay, or like this is somehow not acceptable, like in myself. And it's like when we actually it's almost like embracing the blocks. And like when, like I loved that, like that metaphor of like that becoming like the nutrition for the soil, because I feel like there's so much expansion like that happens like when we go kind of like through those spots where we feel small or contracted or blocked or afraid. It's like when we go through it, it's like like the wholeness of you almost like becomes more big and like more expansive, and there's so much more nutrition like for your expression like as a whole, because it's like it's almost like you've embraced more of yourself, like back to yourself, that was just kind of like maybe a little bit like, you know, it was put to the side. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you learn to use it as it helped, like you learn to use it in a way that it helps you instead of it blocking you.
Yeah.
And there are all those things that are making us small and not enough, and but that's bullshit. But like in it really it is bullshit. So it's like maybe we're not even meant to get rid of those. I mean the night the like the dreamy thing to say is like, yeah, I got rid of that and that and that, but you know there are things that I believe that we can learn to live with them, but some things maybe just are there that we cannot learn to like just to we cannot just get rid of them, but we can make them part of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And oftentimes those are like younger parts like of us, and it's almost like, you know, getting rid of it or like fixing it, it's almost like it feels like cutting a limb, you
Yeah.
know, or like, you know, being like, oh, I have this like young part in myself, like if I'll just like, you know, throw her somewhere, but it's like it might be like this part like inside of us that is like really scared or lost, or they're really hungry and starving, or they don't know what to do, or they don't feel confident, or maybe they feel really bullied or belittled or diminished, or they feel like they're not safe. And then it's like if we're like, I just have to get rid of that part of me that doesn't feel safe, like I don't like it at all. You know, it's kind of like abandoning like such an integral part like of ourselves, when like really, you know, those younger parts like they just really need to like be held and, you know, taken care of and accepted. And I feel like that is often the thing that really helps transform like those
Yeah.
blocks. Yeah.
Yeah, and we need the younger parts of us there because improvisation, it's all about playing and having
Yeah.
fun. And children are playing and having fun. We just grow up like being these mature and serious adults who don't play. Like, no, we need those. We all of us, we have those inner childs in us, and all of the parts our inner child carry. And if your inner child didn't have a voice as a child or as a kid,
Mm,
it can have a voice now. So all of that that is actually like bottled up in your system now, you can
yeah.
you can express it.
Yeah. I think that's a I think that's a, like collectively like a really really big one, because I feel like it is for many of us like um like having had to like somehow bottle up our expression
Yeah.
as children, like our emotions and our like just overall like how we express ourselves. And it's also something that kind of like I don't know if it like happen. I don't know if it happens naturally, but there is like a way that like humans, at least like at this point of our evolution, it's like something that happens in our society is that we, you know what, like we go behind that wall of like being so serious and advanced and professional and like whatever, and then we kind of like end up being like behind this wall of like this rigid, you know, adulthood. And I completely forgot like where I started from. I'm like I completely forgot. But improvisation is such a perfect like disruptor, like, you know, for like all of the, you know, these like rigid serious layers that we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
built like around our identity. It's like that child spirit that is just like, I just want to play and I just want to be wild, and it like in the most perfect way it
Yeah.
disrupts all the way that we control and we hide, and we're too serious about ourselves. Like there's so much freedom
Yeah,
in
yeah,
it.
and that's I think a part of the thing why I started improvisation in the first place was that there was so much bottled emotions in myself. I grew up basically having a childhood where I didn't have the space to actually grow up as a child. I could not
Mm.
express myself. I had kind of a, like, in a way, like bottled and a rough childhood. So no wonder when I became an adult, I fell in love with the playing. Like now I can, because I have also always been like very, um, even as a child, I was expressing big and I was like sparkly. So I was like, but then I just learned to shut that down because it was not okay. So in improvisation, it's something that is allowed to come out and it should come out. And the thing also for me in improvisation compared, for example, songwriting is that in improvisation,
Mm.
I just need to go, 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 go. So I go forward and I don't have the time to stop. Okay, I wrote a line. Now I have the time to think, and 1 second the inner critic is there already telling me that the rhyme is not okay. So in actual improvisation, I don't have time for the inner critic to stop me. So that's why I also um, enjoy it so much, even though the inner critic can come also, of course, during the improvisation. But anyway,
Yeah. What do you do when the inner critic comes during an improvisation?
of course, I need to accept that not every performance is a success. So that is the first thing, because it is improvisation, it can be anything. So it's just something that you need to learn to accept, that not every performance is as like a perfect success. Whoa, so some plays are okay, some are not that okay, but anyway, just to remember the thing that is just improvisation. um any Anyway, what I do when the inner critic comes, I take it a part of my song. So I start to um rap about the emotion and I take it as a part of the song I'm creating.
Yeah.
That's like the most common thing that I do.
Yeah. It's like stripping off the pants for
Yeah. Of course, you can do all kinds of, like, talks with you and your inner critic before you go on the stage. But if it's there,
Mm.
like on the stage, then it's something that I usually use in the songs. And I have noticed that I have performed so many times having like just this crazy like a headache or a head squeeze because of the inner critic, and I have still performed like well. So
Mm.
it's also just it's a thought, it's an opinion. Um, Most probably working with the critic, I think the work should be done outside the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if it's there, then just like make it visible. Like, okay, you're here. Let's show it to the audience and express from that. You don't need to hide it. Let the
Yeah.
anger out in the song or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is actually a really important piece like like performing and like in self-expression and in anything is like really not hiding the thing because
Yeah.
like it's like when we go to the stage and we have this self-critique or this voice that is like, oh, it needs to be perfect or like I'm not good enough, and like if we hide it like from the audience they can still feel it
Yeah.
even though they're not thinking about it. Like people can feel it. It's just like um it is such a funny thing. Like whatever we try to hide on the stage, people can feel it anyway. And it's like
Yeah.
the more that you can be like, okay, I'm not gonna hide it. I'm just gonna show it to everybody. It creates it well, first of all, it creates connection with the audience because they can actually feel the person like on the stage. Um, but it also creates like this like true feeling of freedom, like when we express ourselves, because we're not really hiding anything.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is a way that it makes the audience almost like trust you more or like resonate with you more, because there's not this like funny feeling of like, oh, like they're like performing and they have something on the back. And if
Yeah.
like they can't like fully grasp you, but if you kind of like let them feel the raw and the real and the authentic thing, like people usually love it.
Yeah. And the thing that you can also say it even in your speaks, like as this is improvisation, I'm feeling very critical right now in here. Folks, do I have any other critic friends in here? Raise your hand. You know, you make
Yeah.
it visible.
Yeah.
So, and I totally agree with that. That's a very good point that people can sense it from you, even though they don't realize, but it's something they can really sense from the audience as well. And there is nothing to be ashamed about. It's just that
Yeah.
it should become visible, I think, because it wants to come visible, so let it.
Yeah.
Like, let it
Yeah.
perform for all of the folks there.
Exactly. And that is very much the way, like, how we actually transform those
Yeah.
things is like when it becomes visible. Like, when it's hidden at the back, it's just hidden at the back.
Yeah.
It's still nagging and it's still like niggling, but it's almost like when it gets to come to the forefront, it gets to almost like run all of its fuel
Yeah,
out.
and maybe it's criticizing you back in here because it wants to become visible. It wants to have your attention, but when you bring it in here and watch it, or you bring it in front of the audience, like the stage is yours, it's like, okay. You know what happens to the inner critic when it becomes visible? It quiets itself. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like it loses it's like
yeah,
some of the power that
yeah,
it has.
yeah,
Yeah. Cool. I'm like checking the clock. How long have we been chatting here? For an hour.
yeah,
Ah! Time flies. Um, so I think we can like wrap it up like maybe like in a few minutes. But before we go, what do I want to ask you? Hmm. Oh, okay. Well, I want to ask this one. Um, do you have any role models, like in terms of like improvisation, self-expression? And if you do, why? Like, why is it that this person or though these people inspire you?
it's a funny question because I did another podcast visit like a few weeks ago, and I the answer just came from me, and I'm gonna say the same now.
Yeah.
Me.
Aww.
Um, and I'm even surprised that I said it myself, but I haven't seen anybody doing it like I do. And like I don't know anybody who has had the kind of path that I have had. So that's
Mm.
why. Even though, of course, um, and I think that we should say that more often about ourselves. Like,
Mm.
why always somebody else? Why isn't it ourselves? Like, we are the ones driving our car. But anyway, of course, I have like people that I have gotten inspiration from. Uh, For example, well, why did I say myself is that I think I'm starting to realize it now, but how cool is it that I basically learned to improvise on the stage, like right away in front of the audience. And I went from the acting, having fun, to an artist who improvises songs and raps, and to win the rap battle bronze. And of course, well, but if I'm not talking about myself, I remember like in the beginning when I did my theater, there were some actors and actresses that I thought that, oh my God, she's so good. Oh my God, he's so good. For example, in a Finnish, talking about Finnish ones, I thought that I saw Niina Lahtinen once performing. She was an inspiration for me. And then, well, it's a long time ago, but Roope Salminen was one for me, like back in the days. Um, those are like the ones who also act. Um, then talking about Nina, I think that she has just like have her unique way of being on the stage. She's just herself there, and that's something that it inspires me. And about Roope is like when I first saw him during improvisation on the stage and freestyle rapping, I just like fell in love with his energy, his big energy. He's having like a very big expression. He's very skillful with that. So that's why he was one of the inspirations. And then talking about rappers, um, I I would say Jokrates. He's also a Finnish one. He won the championship of rap battle, Finnish rap battle, in 2019. He's having like this fun way of freestyle rapping. He's not like, when he's battling, he's not really like fighting against another. He's having fun. He's having his own kinds of jokes, and he's really himself. He's letting him be himself. He's not trying to be anything else. um what else could I say? Justina Valentine, if we were talking about non-Finnish ones. She is a freestyle rapper, a freestyle queen. Um, and in her thing, I like the actual rap that she's rapping. I think she's very skillful at that. And also the thing that she's doing it as a woman. So that's also one thing.
Yeah. I think that is actually kind of fun, like how you said, like yourself, because it's like it's there is something about like really seeing ourselves like from that lens. Um, like oh, like from the lens of our greatness,
Yeah.
you know, like through all the trials and like triumphs that we've gone through, because like role models, like they go through all kinds of trials and triumphs, like how could they otherwise be role models if they didn't go through
Yeah.
like different
Yeah.
kinds of, you know.
Yeah, and the thing that I really didn't have a role model. I just followed whatever I followed. So even though I got some inspiration from the people, I wasn't like a fan of anybody, you know? Like I want to be actual like him, I want to be actually like her. Um, it's like, and also I have faced so many struggles during this, like bullying, big way in social media and whatever. So I have faced so big struggles so big that I cherish myself of getting through those. And I would love to have something to look up for, but I think I think I was kind of born to be a leader in this, and now I'm saying it out loud.
Yeah, Well, there's no shame, you know,
I
in
know
claiming
it's
that.
your
Yeah.
podcast, so we can speak about these things in here.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's fun.
but in many ways it feels like I've been a pioneer. Is it like a word in English like pioneer, pioneri?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pioneer.
Yeah. So I have been also lost in many spots, but
Yeah.
here I. And even though you asked me to talk about these things, to like in the park, even though I was the one who commented on your Instagram story, but you asked me asked me to come here. I was like,
Yeah.
who am I to speak about improvisation or freestyle rap? Like, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a deeper part of you is like, you know, that the soul part was like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm almost like like after this conversation, I'm like, oh, like maybe I should do this like podcast series of like, like interviewing people like from the sense of like kind of like claiming the greatness,
Mm,
that we have, like
yeah.
claiming that like inner,
Yeah.
greatness or role model that we sort of like have
Yeah. I think
inside
that's
of us. Yeah.
yeah. Because we don't have that. I mean, when we listen to interviews, even like the most skillful ones, like the most talented ones, like the really professional ones go there like, well, yeah, I do this and maybe I know something, there can still be that belittling, like the
Yeah.
thing that you're still making yourself small. Like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it is such a funny thing. I think we get it so ingrained in us to be humble, and like obviously like that is true that like a certain kind of humility for the bigger thing like is always like something that we sort of like obviously that is something that is good to have, but it doesn't really serve anyone if we like make our like own genius smaller, or if we kind of like um constantly lessen lessen the value like of what we actually have, because there is so like it is so much of service if we can actually just like stand in it and be like, yes, like this is what I am and this is my greatness. And because like I don't remember, where did I say it? Maybe it was a podcast episode, I do not remember, but it's like um perfection is not the same thing as greatness. Like it's
Mm,
like our greatness, it comes from the trials and the triumphs that
yeah.
we like go through, and the medicine that we sort of like receive like from our journey, and it's like that in the uniqueness of it. And it's like I think sometimes we can have like such a high demand
Yeah.
like to be so perfect that we're almost like afraid that like we like I can't claim the greatness
Yeah.
that I have.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing that what actually, well, I'm talking about my side now, but what interests me and usually also the audience is the thing that is not perfect, is the thing when you screw up, is the thing when you do a mistake, but because that at that point you become a human. And like, yeah, you can be the most perfect one, making no mistakes, you can look perfect, you can smell perfect, you can have the perfect words, you can have the perfect voice or whatever. Yeah, it can be nice to hear, but where is the soul? Like,
Yeah.
and where is the human thing in there? So we can have a
Yeah.
different kind of opinions about it, of course, but for me it's also about the thing being unperfect. Like, that's perfect to be unperfect.
Yeah. Yeah. because in a way it's like us being whole.
Yeah.
Because again, like there is always something hidden. Like if we have that like layer of perfection, like there's
Yes.
always something
Yeah.
that we're hiding behind that. It's almost like you have your greatness, but like a part of you is like, this is not actually valuable. So I'm gonna create this like performance like on top of all of this when you're actually hiding the best part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a funny thing. It's like we have a conversation about improvisation, and then it's like it ends up like in this like, oh, this is actually like a beginning of a podcast series like on like claiming your greatness.
Yeah, it's perfect. Like we did some great improvisation today.
Yeah, great improvisation.
We just
You did.
went with the flow and not planning too much, just being open to the moment. And this is how we created the episode.
Yeah. Role models.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
And this is
Okay.
like what I
Yeah.
also, before we close up, I want to say one
Yes.
last, what
Yeah.
I
Say.
also have learned about improvisation, that basically everything in life is improvisation. Everything. Like you go to speak to somebody, you go in a job interview, you go there, you do that. You make those words in the moment. You create that dinner in the moment. I mean, you can plan to have potatoes and fish, yes, but still, like when you really pay attention to that, basically everything is improvisation around you. And and performing on stage with improvisation has also helped me being open in life in general. Like I don't have to plan things, or I don't have to be perfect. I can just go to speak in front of the stage and read a book there, for example, or I can just do a PowerPoint show without practicing to it, because I know that I got it.
Yeah.
And improvisation is also about being, because when we speak about like theater or singing, we most probably we learned the performance and then we perform it in a way that we have learned it when we practice. But improvisation is something you don't practice. There are techniques, of course, you can practice ahead, but then you just don't practice it and you go on stage. So
Yeah.
that's being not perfect, and that's being something real instead.
Yeah. That was a good like what do they call that in English when it's like thieves term?
Close up, closing,
Close
close the.
up, like wrapping of the conversation. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. That was a good one to wrap the conversation with. Um, so before we close up, maybe share like where people can find you, like if they want to listen to your music or just like overall just find out more about what you're doing and what's going on.
You can go to my Instagram. I'm in Instagram and in Facebook, improvisasa, and I have music in Spotify. You can find me Sasa Kenraali or Sasa Palo. I have 2 songs in there. If you want, you can also Google me, but go to my Instagram first.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, go and listen to the banger songs. We didn't even have any time to talk about, uh, the song music aspect.
They're
Maybe
partly
in
born
another.
as improvisation also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for this one. This was
Thank you.
fun, and thank you for the listeners. And go check Improvisasa out. And yeah, talk to you
Thank you
soon.
for thank you for having me here. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Bye bye,
Bye.
listeners.